Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Century from East to West. Century from East to West is actually 3 different games. This is the combination game of Century and New World, and it's the combination of each of the other Century games within to the one big game. So each part 1, we're putting a New World and Spice Road together. Part 2, we're putting a New World and Eastern Wonders together, and part 3, we're putting all of them together. It feels like part 1 and part 2 are just an easy way to understand part 3, because once you've got part 1 and part 2, part 3 is actually the game. And I feel like it's almost a waste of time bothering with the single combinations. You should just go straight to the triple combination, which is part 3. Now that's just me as a gamer. I do wonder if we're just kind of, okay, these two are together, but once you've got them, go to part 3, because that's the whole lot together, and you'll kind of get a really long game out of it. What I've found, and it's probably worthwhile noticing this in the playthroughs, I'm doing a playthrough and a gamesplanation of each of the combinations, but what I found is part 3, the playthrough of that was taking longer to get points in, and that's really what this is about. Is, do I want a longer game? If I want a longer game and a more thinky game, then part 3 is really, really good. If I just want something I can put on the table and play and then move on to the next one, I probably wouldn't bother with any of the combinations, especially part 3. Because all they do is just add a little bit of other thinky stuff that you can do to the game. So part 1, which is combined with Spice Road, allows you to take cards in, and you can set up this line of 5 cards and use them. The ones on the left, it'll cost you a guy. You can use guys further up, so you can go for a list of 5 things in front of you. But if you want to use the 5th thing, you're going to have to use 5 guys to make that happen. Whereas if you use the one on the left, it's just 1 guy. If that one's been used and then you use the next one next to it, it's 1 guy again. So there's this build up of things. If you can get them in the right order, you can actually play bang, 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 bang all the way along, just using 1 guy for each of them. But getting them in the right order is really hard. And getting 5 things, you've got to kind of focus your game on that part of the game, because the points aren't there. The points are still within a New World. The whole idea of going up and getting the cards with this combination of cubes. I haven't tried just playing the New World half of it while allowing the other person just to do this stuff. I feel like the person who's doing this stuff is probably going to win if I were to do that. But that's really the kind of the rule of thumb that I have for game expansions or for other versions of games is, can I ignore that other version and still win? If that's possible, then it's probably not a good combination. I feel like that's not the case with this one. So it's just something to kind of bear in mind. Now, if you go to the next one, part 2, which is a New World and Eastern Wonders joined together, you've suddenly got this area of ship. And what you're doing is you've got your board flips over, so you've got a different side of the board, but you can move your ship around 1 or 2 spots, or if you open up the space, you can go to anywhere else. And you can build the outposts on it, just like you could in Eastern Wonders. There's extra points on your board for doing that. For doing that, you're going to be able to gain extra tiles, which allow you to get points off the cards. And so suddenly that's actually a worthwhile thing to do, because it does give you a heck of a lot of points in the end. It's the same cost system of first person there is going to be free, the second person there is going to have to pay cubes to put their outposts on the spot. It's a smaller map, however, than Eastern Wonders, which is a good thing. I prefer that one to part 1. That's just a personal preference. I am on record as saying that Eastern Wonders isn't quite as good a game as Century Spice Road, but I prefer part 2 to part 1, which is the one that combines New World and Eastern Wonders, is better than New World Spice Road combination. Now, when we move to part 3, we're basically doing all of these combinations together. The only thing that's different is that instead of having that choice when you take a Spice Road card of putting into this gap of 5, is when you're on Spice Road, you were able to take the choice of using it for that gap or use it straight away. In this version, part 3, you can use it straight away, and that is all. You can't line them up. And I actually think that that's a better usage of them, because it makes you suddenly start thinking, can I actually use that? Is there any purpose in that? So you're going to use that less, but you're still going to go for this, the C portion of it, to be able to get this manipulation of the cubes, because suddenly you're able to change cubes from, it might be from a green cube into like 1 red and 4 yellow, and you can do that a whole bunch of times. Like if you've got two green cubes, you can change all of those, so you've suddenly filled up your hull with all these cubes. I find that on part 3, that's the only time I've actually gone even close to filling up that hull and having to actually think, oh, hang on, if I do that again, I'm not going to have space to keep all the cubes, so I'm going to have to get rid of some of the cubes. That hasn't been a thought in any of the other games up to this point. I really like that. That's kind of the way of manipulation. You're still getting points from these things up the top, these cards that you're going after, but you really do need to do this because you're still going to get points from putting the outposts out there and using those outposts. There's a lot going on in that version of the game. I think with gamers, I think that's the version to play. I think the third part of East to West is the right one to play, because there's enough stuff to think about to keep your mind really active. What I found playing against my wife, who, she doesn't call herself a gamer, she doesn't win a lot. She won the first couple of games, which was just the New World, and then she won with New World Spice Road. But then I think we kind of got an even points on one of them, and then suddenly she was nowhere near it on this one. And that's not anything other than just saying people who aren't necessarily huge gamers may find this version with all of them a little bit much, because there's a lot going on, there's a lot to think about. But people who are gamers are really going to appreciate that element of it. So for someone who is a gamer, I much prefer the combination of all three. For someone who's not a gamer, probably going to New World is actually a really good spot to go to, because there's enough happening to keep your mind active for the gamers, but it's manipulatable to a point where once you've kind of understand the rules, which aren't that difficult, to be honest with you, it makes sense and is easy. Look, I think I'll leave it there. Please go ahead and watch my Gameplay and Gamesplanation for each of the versions of Century from East to West. If you have any comments or suggestions, write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplaned, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.